Okay. Just letting people in. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody is well. I'm just letting the final people in. I think we've got a few people coming through now. So we normally give it about 2 to 3 minutes just to allow people to join. I know what it's like. That notification goes off on your phone, doesn't it? Like, oh God, I'm supposed to be on a webinar. Obviously, I don't do that because I'm very organised.
I do it every single time.
I know, literally, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm like that with every notification though. It's like, oh, I should have been at an appointment 1 minute ago. Yeah, like it's not just webinars.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible, isn't it? What did we do before we had all of these things to notify us? Like mine now, my watch goes off, it goes off in my pocket, it comes up on your screen, like a million places, and I still forget things. That's the worst part, is I'm still like the one that misses stuff. And then I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, we were just happier. Like that's what we were. Yeah.
With less people to bother us.
Yeah, we just did more.
Right. We'll just give it 1 more minute. So just a reminder to everybody, we've got the Q&A buttons at the top of your Teams window. If you click on that, it will open up at the side and you can pinboard your questions there, and then we'll try to ensure that we answer all of them at the end once we've kind of made our way through our discussion points today. And the idea of today, like all of our webinars, is to try and be like really practical, give people just advice and guidance around the subject, and hopefully give you some takeaways from each of the webinars. Right, it's 3 minutes past, so I'm going to make a start now. I'm just going to go onto here and go to present. It isn't death by PowerPoint, I promise you all that. But just a few things really more to guide me as we sort of start. Okay, so today obviously we're going to be talking about unlocking the future of AI. And for those who don't know me, I'm Katie from Your Marketing Needs. If you've watched some of our webinars before, obviously they're all available on that landing page that you would have used to book to today. So scroll through, we've covered various topics and we've got lots more coming up. But who am I? I'm a fractional marketing director, and we basically are an outsourced kind of marketing team for recruiters. Been working in recruitment for over 7 years and within the marketing industry for over 20 years now. And I've done everything from kind of like on the ground expos Matt and I were just talking about, right through to like TV. So real kind of like practical experience across the board in different sized businesses, from like SMEs to large corporates. And today I'm really lucky, oh sorry Matt, just skipped past you, to be joined by Matt from SourceFlow, previously Volcanic in a past life. I'm going to stop sharing there and I'm going to give Matt the floor to introduce himself before we move on to the questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Katie. Well, yeah, my name's Matt Comber. I'm the CEO of SourceFlow. So we're a website and marketing technology provider. Previously helped build and run Volcanic through to the acquisition back in 2019. And I'm just fortunate enough to run a team of really awesome people. I'm by far the stupidest person in our business, which is great. And I just let other people be awesome and kind of do their job, and then have an interest in AI. Obviously practical use for it within our own platform and what we do, and have been kind of working in technology for quite a while now. So yeah, fortunate enough to kind of seeing the growth of it. And yeah, we're just delighted to be here today and chatting to you about this.
Oh, thanks. So just to give a bit of background, I've seen Matt speak a couple of times now on AI, and we were talking about this before, that I'm such a geek with stuff like this. So I was proper like really excited, and everyone that was here last time will vouch for how I was talking about this webinar coming up and how excited I was to get you on. So thank you for coming on. So I've written a list of questions, and I did send them to Matt in advance to give him a little bit of a heads up, so it wasn't just me bombarding him. So first of all, obviously AI, if we look at like the trajectory of today, and where we are moved from over like the last sort of even just 6 months or 12 months. Can you give us a bit of a summary of how quickly it's been evolving and like how that kind of looks, that landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. So as humans and the kind of like sapiens, I guess, there's only been about, well, I say only, but we are technology by default as humans. Like we love technology, and technology can be primitive or it can be, um, it can be quite advanced. And I guess it all depends at what time period that you're talking about. But we've only had like these waves, as I call them, of technological advancement in our entire history. If we go back about 3 million years, we only had about 30 of them that have really occurred in that period of time. And if you go back to like tools and like primitive tools, that would be like the first one. And we could go through to like the era when we learned to sail, or the internet coming through, or anything in between, like these periods. We have these like waves, and for them to happen, a lot of different things kind of need to come together. So it will usually be a bunch of different technologies that have to happen for something to be big and kind of occur really, in life. And that's no different than what's been happening with AI. You could probably go back to like the concepts of Alan Turing, I guess. You could probably start there and look at what he was doing, and then research really into kind of what computing could do around this. We probably started in about the 50s, but really from like 2010 onwards, there's been like quite rapid advancements, and that's kind of led it to where we are today. If anyone's heard me talk before, I always talk about like this, how life gets faster, things get faster, and this law of accelerating returns, where like periods of time, the technological advancements of that shorten the time for it to happen. And that's why AI seems to have just like happened all of a sudden. And like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we weren't really talking about it as a credible day-to-day tool, and now we're talking about it as like taking 50% of jobs and things like that. It has happened really quickly, the way that's come from. And really it's the automation that AI brought has come from like simple things like, there was a little game called Go, like in 2010, when the first like program beat a player of that game, to now when we're talking about it like running like space programs and things like that. It really has been like a steep curve, and we just operate in one industry that can take advantage of it. But it's pretty cool kind of where it's come from, where it's going.
Yeah, because it is like compared, if I think back, like even like you were saying 12 months ago to now, obviously I've seen from a recruitment marketing perspective, like people now kind of, well, how am I going to use that? Is it going to replace the marketing team? Can I just use that to kind of write all my content? Can I use it to the like? And you go back like 2 years ago, we used to work with, or we still do work with content writers, and even how they're using the tool to kind of help them reduce their time, make them more efficient. It's mad to think that that's now become like part of the day to day, and it didn't even exist going back like 2 years ago in that same context. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Oh no! I was going to say I'm doing a talk tomorrow, which I know you're attending the talk for Reconnect, which is at the Comedy Store in London. It's sold out, but that is going to be a huge part about what I talk about tomorrow, about how we've started to use like AI as like a day-to-day tool, and then where I think where that race goes, like how we navigate those waters, and actually what that looks like. So yeah, it has become a day-to-day thing for pretty much every business that I could really think of now.
Yeah. And in terms of recruitment specifically, do you think that what's the most kind of prevalent applications that you've seen in this sector and how people are using it?
Yeah, so there's probably a couple of different areas right now, and we talk about like a today state about where it's impacting things. So marketing definitely is one of them, where we've got generative AI, the ability for it to generate. You put a couple of inputs in and it outputs something for you, either write your blog for you, or it will prompt you like what you could write for a blog, or give you ideas around something. I think like from the that like forward top of funnel kind of perspective, I think generative AI has just been, one of the kind of key areas that we've seen kind of impact the marketing area of recruitment businesses for sure. Outside of marketing, if we look across businesses, so especially if you look into like the CRM space, because I personally think it's the CRM space that will drive a lot of the CRM ATS space that will drive a lot of the like AI adoption, just because that's they are the tools that our recruiters are in day to day. So every tool that I've ever seen do well has to be like a day-to-day hands-on type of product for recruitment to do, because otherwise we get this like product overload, and I think that's not good for anybody. So if you look at the CRM ATS systems, things like resume screening, filtering candidates based around certain criterias, candidate sourcing, and like the AI element of that, which is sort of similar, I guess, from those types of things, which is, based around X, find me Y. I think that's two pretty big areas. Maybe do that across platforms and kind of, see how that works. And then the other kind of probably more common use that a lot of people are using are things like chatbots, for that initial candidate screening side of things, and that interactions, like automating that part of the process, like embedding AI into that side of things. I think we're still really early, I think is the thing. So, last time I was speaking, I was talking about this, but, I think we're just early in this process right now. And so people love to ridicule it. And I think people are like, oh, well, I put in this complex math question and it didn't know the answer. And you're like, okay, I get that. You might be proud of yourself today, but like the speed that this is progressing and the kind of the levels of growth in it will very quickly outstrip kind of where we are just mentally as people anyway. And we won't find it funny probably in the future. But yeah, in today's world, it's not like, I don't think it's super widespread across recruitment just yet. I think it's cool that we've got vendors in this space that are investing a lot of money into it. You've got the likes of Bullhorn bringing their Copilot. You've got Mercury. You've got their AI products that they've embedded. That's a cool arms race in this industry that I'm looking forward to kind of see play out. You've got the likes of Tracker, other vendors that are doing really good stuff here. So I think it's going to be cool for recruiters to kind of be really at the fore of this and let these tools kind of enhance their businesses.
Yeah, and I did, funnily enough, I was watching a webinar earlier about marketing and recruitment marketing, and they were saying that traditionally, like recruiters have always sort of been, when it comes to marketing, almost like behind the curve in some of this stuff. So it is a huge opportunity that actually they can now be ahead of the curve a little bit. And we've all seen like these automated, like chat generated LinkedIn requests and messages that you get through, like, oh, hi, Matt, I see you're working at SourceFlow. Like, I want to say that you're doing a fabulous job in your industry, and that they're like really obvious. So like you said, I still think it's still early adoption times, isn't it? Because, some of those messages you get through and it's so obviously, but then others that I've had through and you almost have to question yourself, like, is that chat that's written that, or is it like a personalized message? But it is, like you said, it's all about, like, I guess, what data is available and what you can feed into it as to what kind of like response and stuff that you're going to get out of it. And I think one of the kind of concerns, obviously, that people have around that piece of sort of screening candidates and resumes and things like that is obviously like the bias, and how can we mitigate any kind of risk of that, and what can be kind of brought in? Have you seen anything sort of around that, like when you're looking at like other tools or things that you've seen?
Yeah, and what I'll say is that it's back to just where we are in the process of developing AI and what we're training the AI on, and like what the like large language models exist because we feed something into it to begin with, and then there's this kind of like deep neural networks, they call that, kind of happen in the middle. That process it to understand like a word is the word that you're looking for, and like the words around it. It tries to like draw like knowledge basically from itself, and that's what makes these engines firstly so expensive and secondly so powerful. But we're really early, so the fact that there's bias right now doesn't surprise me, or that there could be bias doesn't really surprise me in any way, right? Because it's not just that there's bias, there's problems with like mathematical functions that occur in it, but we don't hear about the problems with mathematical functions. We hear about the bias side of things, and I think is that because people don't understand the problems with them. But yeah, I think that there will absolutely be that, because there is bias in the world, right? Like there is just generally bias that's in the world. So if you trained a data set on something where there was intrinsic bias, then obviously it comes out intrinsically biased at the other end. I also know that there are people out trying to do a lot to stop that, and there's strategies in place not just at like a local level, but kind of governmental levels, to try and make sure that this kind of concept of safe AI is a thing that happens, and that, you know, we kind of do de-bias things a lot. I think things like regular audits of AI algorithms and things like that, transparency in the AI process. So I personally think that if you have any kind of technology, firstly, there's a GDPR question, which people keep forgetting exists, I think, about automated screening just in general, and about like, oh, we're going to automatically screen this with this like de-bias tool that automatically screens. And you're like, what are you? Are you not biased, or are you compliant with GDPR? Like, because you, like, I do think there's like a legal challenge there on that. But I personally believe that, you know, we just need to be in a position where we are making sure that the person that is going to be analyzed, if you like, by AI, like, should they know that that is what's happening? And like that for me is more of the moral dilemma than the AI having bias or not, because we can create software that will like de-bias things, because that's what we do, right? We're able to do that. But can we create moral processes that tell the candidate that they are being actually identified by a robot to decide, or a machine, or some computer code that basically is going to decide whether they get passed to the next phase for the job? Because, you know, like, who's to say your code's right if you de-bias something, right? There's all of these kind of things. Our CTO is another Matt, and he made a really good point to me recently, which was, if we have these de-bias softwares that exist in the process, and that gives us more information about people, does that make it easier for us to be biased about that person because we have more information about them? And so that's a very good point, Matt, to look at. So I think, just generally speaking, you know, we should expect elements of bias, and where possible, try and like try and pull them out. But at the same time, we're really early in the process, and the better we train the language models, the best the results ultimately are going to get off the back of that.
Yeah. And I think as well, you know, like I've had this obviously in like the line of work that I do, that people have asked that question: do you think it's going to replace what you do? Do you think it's going to replace like a need for a marketing team, or a need for kind of that human interaction? And I guess it's just really comes down to kind of showcasing value in different ways and adding that human element to it, isn't it? That's going to be the bit that where people can kind of still not capitalize, but can still add value to their clients, and can still add that extra layer. And that will be the thing that you start to sell in a different way to kind of like these processes of like they're just now being done with improved efficiencies, versus kind of someone manually doing them. And so in terms
I'm gonna go. Katie, I'm going to go on a tangent for a second, because yeah, I think this is a really important point. The bit that you just raised is a really, so I remember probably about a year ago, there was like a couple of BT maybe, or something like that. They announced that like 20,000 jobs are going to be lost to AI or something like that in their business. And I'm like, it's a pretty bold prediction to make when you don't really use AI in your business, right? Like, how do you know that it's going to be able to do that over what? It's just like one of these grandiose claims. And I think one of the things that we could look at is, you know, historically, it's not like loads of jobs have been lost when new technologies have come along. Like, that's not what history really tells us, because we've had a lot of technology already. And it's not like when the word processor came out, we all like got like 3 days back, which was the promise at the time when these products were made. We didn't. We didn't get that back. We did more, right? We actually just wrote more content. We did things like that, right? And I think if you look at now, there will be unscrupulous businesses that are like, oh, great, we can get rid of like 40%. AI is not here to replace us. It's not here to replace workers. It's here to augment us. It's here to make us better. It's here to make us more productive, and to focus on the valuable things. And I think recruitment's in a really special place, like it is with a lot of things. It's quite unique in that it is a human industry, right? It's a right and left brain industry that we can kind of focus our attention on servicing people and the needs of humans. We're not servicing the needs of computers, right? You know, we're providing the people that make the computers. Like, that's what we're doing. So yeah, I think that I don't think it's going to be this like catch-all that removes every job in the market. I think there will be some jobs, but if you're just using it to do your day-to-day job right now, then yeah, absolutely, it's going to replace you. But I think just generally you need to be thinking a bit more than that anyway.
I'd be a little bit worried if some of my team would just literally using it instead of doing what they're supposed to. So yeah,
I bet you
agree.
there are people here that might be doing that. Yeah, yeah, I bet you there's a few people, yeah.
Probably. Okay, and so we've talked about kind of like where the things are taking place now in terms of like you know, obviously marketing, CRM and screening, and then the chatbot side. And what do you see in the next few years as being like the next kind of step forward with that?
Yeah, I think just first and foremost is what we call like the diffusion effect needs to happen. So this is where any of these technologies, for any technology to happen or to become like a global thing, it needs to diffuse into everyday life. And that's why I call it like waves of things to happen. You know, for Uber to become a day-to-day thing, for Uber to work, you need a phone, right? You need a smartphone. Otherwise, Uber isn't successful. And for the smartphone to work, you need GPS. And for GPS to happen, we need relay satellites for that to happen. And then we need space travel, right? There's like a network effect of things to happen in for any of these kind of diffusions of major technological advances to happen. So I think what we'll see probably in the very short term of the next couple of years is artificial intelligence becoming more and more of a day-to-day like product that we use, and I think it needs to become probably more embedded in our lives first before, you know, the next like major changes. Also, I think just the AI products that are out there, like if you look at like OpenAI with their work and the stuff that Google's done with DeepMind and a bunch of other stuff that's out there, they need a little bit longer for their models to advance to like Terminator 2 level of where people think it is going to be in the next 5 years. Like it is going to take a little bit longer for that level to happen. I think what we'll then start to see is just enhancements to some of the products that we have. So it will be things like predictive analysis will become much better. I think that things like what's called federated data models will probably become more efficient, where we take data from multiple sources, we bring it into one central source that we own ourselves, and then it gives us information about a new user group or a new market segment that we might want to go into. I think we'll see a lot of work in that from like a business development type of product base. I think in the interview side of things, there's a lot that could be done with AI. So there's two like big things going on here. There's like AI, and then there's like molecular biology changes that are happening in the world, and like the advancements in like the robotics and the humanization and like decoding the genome and shit like that, that's happening at the same time. Like those two things run kind of in parallel, and people don't really talk about that stuff because it terrifies them, but they just talk about computers because it doesn't terrify them. I think you'll see the ability for computers, like in Red Dwarf, I've talked about this before, like Holly in Red Dwarf, where it's like a guy that's like facing, he just like deadpan answer things. And I think like video interviewing and that will become a thing. One of AI's biggest like traits, or like where it can be used effectively, is at scale. So if you imagine like as a recruitment business, we might want to interview everybody we speak to, but we physically can't because we just don't have that amount of people. Well, a computer can do that because it's 247 365, and it can give everybody a solid interview, potentially face to face. We've already got voice changes, we've got songs in the charts nearly being kind of AI driven, or at least people trying to stop that happening. So I think that we'll see kind of big advancements in that, and that like the level of screening that we're able to do and the volume of it from industry to industry. I think, you know, just that as an efficiency saving, and then like just general efficiency savings through the day-to-day products we use. I think that will be the next step for everybody to see where we go with it.
And it, you know, you're talking about those things, but like I had a demo last week with a new chatbot thing that was coming to the market, and they were showcasing me this, how they built this platform that would basically like do the take all the screening information from that person, and then they would then send a personalized video that was AI generated to that person that said like, "Hi Matt, thanks for agreeing to come on. You'll be starting at X, Y, and Z on this date." It was like a bank nursing thing that they'd set it up for. And I'd never seen anything like that before. And I was really like, and I do watch a lot of stuff on webinars, things around AI, because I find it really interesting. But that was the first time that I'd seen that in such a kind of like day-to-day context of it being used, and it did kind of blow my mind a little bit, that I was like, wow. And it was very expensive, but again, those sorts of things I imagine will become more day to day, like what you were saying about that interview piece, and it will become more day to day, that it will be kind of AI generated and things as we move forward.
I think that point on cost is an important one, because that will come down, and history tells us that, right? If we look at like the first motor vehicles, when the internal combustion engine physically went into a car, everyone thinks it was Henry Ford, but it wasn't. It was Daimler who did that, when he kind of started putting this French dude's engines, like these the 4-stroke engine, into a car. And but they couldn't sell it. They couldn't kind of mass produce it. What Henry Ford did was he brought production lines around, and by mass marketing it and being able to build a lot of it, they were able to sell it at a lower price, and then it became more of like a day-to-day product. And I think, and then obviously over time that changes. I think that's what will happen. Like some of these super expensive AI products, which are like next gen stuff that we would look at, I think in the next 5 to 10 years will just become day to day, and the cost of them will come down. I was reading a book recently, and they were saying like a genetic sequencer to, like, find like the genetic to decode like our DNA. It used to be like Jurassic Park thing, that, didn't it? And like it cost like billions. You can actually pick one up for about 10 grand and have it in your own home now. And so like things come down in cost as we can mass produce them and make them a bit easier. So if you want to decode our genetic structure, 10 grand can be yours to be able to do that. But that will happen with things like AI. Like the cost of these bigger tools will come down, and it will create this level of equality in the market.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at like chat now, when that first came out, and the cost effectiveness when it upgraded, it's like what, $20 a month, isn't it, to have like the premium package of that. And there are other tools that are more expensive that do like slightly other things, but really they're all built on that same kind of intelligence, aren't they? It's just the kind of thing over the top of it. And so already you can see how that has become more and more accessible to everybody on a day-to-day. So that whole thing that you were talking about, the diffusion phase, is really already kind of started. I hear people who don't even work in this kind of environment that I'm in, and I hear them at the gym and they're talking about chat, and these are people that would never have even considered using that going back like even 6 months or 12 months, and my parents are talking about it. It's already filtering in massively to the day-to-day. And like you said, it is going to become more accessible. So these kind of far-fetched ideas that are really expensive now, like that generative AI video, will become something that people can utilize sort of on a day-to-day. It'll be built into like a system, I'm sure, soon. I don't want to name drop any CRMs and things, but it'll be part of, I'll say, Force 24. Force 24 will have it on there soon, I'm sure.
But I'm sure Adam's looking at that. I'm sure Adam's looking at that now, right? And and why wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, the reality is that a lot of us right now don't have the money to do it the way that an OpenAI or Microsoft can. That's the reality. To get access to OpenAI's data sets, start at $2 million, I think, just to get access to it. So anyone who says like we've got our own large language models, like, your question, like, do you? Because like they're very expensive, these things, and they've cost a lot of money to build. And if people are selling them for 2 million, you can guarantee it cost them a lot more than 2 million to put it together. So but that will come down, and it will become more attainable to use those products and train your own language models.
And what tools do you use? What's your preferred kind of AI? Is it chat? Is it other systems that you use?
So I can give you 2 answers to this. I can talk personally. So I think ChatGPT is good because it's easy and it's accessible to use. I like Google's products as well. I think that is good. I think it will get better, but I think GPT is probably a better model right now, better engine for that. We like, as personally, I think I saw somebody drawing with it, but like Fireflies as a note-taking app. I think that's cool. I don't think it's perfect. I think it needs a lot of work, but I think it's like an early, can this like save me a bit of time and kind of bail me out with customers every now and again? Like, it's a really good thing because it remembers all the stuff I forget. So I like those type of things that are very non-intrusive AI uses that can then make me more productive which we'll probably chat about further shortly. But like, I think that's a key thing. It can get rid of some of that admin headache for me, and I'm not very good at admin. I'm really bad at it. But anything that can help me there is a good product, just generally, whether it's AI or not. But if it's AI driven, then that's good. As a business, we embedded GPT into our product suite early days, and have kind of kept up with that, and spent some time doing that, mainly because we provide a marketing product, and there's a lot of value for a marketing team to be able to get access to it and kind of see how it goes. We also have some products that we kind of embed with a CRM. I'm not going to name it, but with a big CRM. And that product is helping recruiters write job descriptions. So it pulls all the data in from like the general information about a job, and then it processes it through GPT and gives like a public facing job description that people might be able to use as well. So I think they are cool uses for it. I personally do also accounts as well, because I love seeing the progress that Midjourney from a video perspective is making. Likewise, I think OpenAI's video generating process is terrifyingly amazing, and I'm kind of looking forward to see where that goes as well.
Yeah, nice. And when it comes to this, I know we've talked about, like, or you mentioned earlier, like safe AI, but what do you think we need to think about ethically from a consideration of, like, from a recruitment standpoint and using AI?
It's so difficult, this one, because there's like perfect world and then there's reality, right? And so in a perfect world, I think it's about control. Like, that's what we need to make sure. We need to make sure that we are in control of what the AI products are actually doing and how they're working for our businesses, because if we don't have that level of control, then who's to stop the AI going and doing something bad, right? I can't think of a single really like major technological advancement that hasn't had like a really bad side to it at the same time. Like, you're like, wow, with airplanes, like, wow, we're in the sky. A lot of people die to make planes safer. There is a lot of tragedy wrapped around that. Talked about cars. A lot of people still die on the roads every year. It's not all getting from A to B quicker. There is still tragedy that is wrapped around any of these products. And I just think that anybody who thinks that AI is going to be plain sailing without a downside is, well, they might be right, but I disagree. I would disagree with them. I don't think that that's going to happen. So I think that just having a level of control, I think we need to have like the human element of it as well, which is by putting some kind of code around somebody and judging them based around the interpretation of a neural network. Is that the fairest way that we could do it? So I think like diff testing your algorithms and trying to understand whether it is fair. I talked about large language models. We talked about bias earlier. If I run a recruitment business now and I'm a tech recruiter and I get a large language model, or I've got an AI engine to look at my data, and I just happen to only decide to hire white guys in their 40s and put them into my clients' jobs, well, the AI engine will be trained that I'm just looking for white guys in their 40s, and that would start to discriminate against people unconsciously because of the data set that it's trained on. So if we are training data sets, we need to make sure that those data sets are kind of or diverse data set, if that's the outcome that we want to achieve at the end of it. If you don't want to achieve a diverse outcome, then don't train your data set on that. But if you do, then I think you probably need to start to look at that. I'd say that that's from like a risk perspective where we need to go with things. But I think that the flip side of all this is that there might be 95% of the market that do things in a moral way, but it's highly unlikely that globally that will happen. And there will always be actors that will go against what you believe in and what you think is right, either locally around the corner from where you live or internationally. The world at the moment is on a bit of a knife edge, right? It's not like the cleanest it's ever been geopolitically and things like that. And you look at it and think, is my AI view for the UK market the same as it might be in another country somewhere else? So if we all decide to be super moral and then another country decides not to be super moral, what does that mean from an AI perspective? So I think you need governmental control more than anything, and you need like a very, very high global buy-in from this to kind of draw up a set of rules, which, again, idealist. I don't think that's probably going to happen. But I think in our industry, we need to just kind of have the ability to call out misuse of AI when it happens. the same way as HMRC call out people who don't pay people enough money per hour. I think we need to have like that level of deterrence in place personally.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Great.
So
Yeah.
if one thing that you did just touch on there, and I think is really key, is that testing element, because I think people do kind of take reliance on these improved efficiencies, or they'll kind of build something to improve a process within the business. But I think continually testing to ensure that it is working how we expected, or it is delivering the results that we expected, needs to be happening all the time. Just touching back on those chat messages that you get through on LinkedIn, how much can those people actually see what's being sent without going into their kind of sent items or their inbox? And how often are they testing that or looking at what it is that's being sent? And if you're not building that in, it can very quickly kind of build up the opposite of what you were trying to achieve, if things go wrong. And that is one of the things, although you're kind of like supercharging your efficiencies to be able to deliver all this stuff, if you're taking out that human element, there is going to be mistakes, or there is going to be problems with that. Earlier on, I had one. So I had an email set up to go in April on an old laptop, and then the laptop died and shut down. I turned it on earlier, managed to get it working, and it automatically started sending an email about something that happened in April. Apologies if anybody did get that random email. But that in itself, I managed to notice that it was happening straight away and shut it down. But it's that automation, like with any automation, I guess. But it is kind of that testing and validating and making sure that things are happening as you see fit. And I know you
100%.
talked about
The bit that oh, sorry, just gonna say that, just to add to that, the bit that terrifies me the most at the moment, especially because we are early days, is bringing AI at the front of like the very top of the funnel to screen people. I mean, like, that is something that I'm not investing anything in right now. Like, there's no way I'm doing that, because I just don't think it's there yet to make judgments about who should get shortlisted for jobs before it's gone into a central system. I think when we've brought them through and there's been maybe other screening questions or additional information asked or something like that, do that in the CRM. But we're a web vendor, right? And we sit right at the top of that funnel of the acquisition mix. And the concept for me right now of just screening people based around an AI product at this stage, for me, is just a bit of a no-go. I'm not saying that will be like that forever. But I don't love that AI could sit on the front and then start to make decisions itself on who should or shouldn't get passed through to recruiters from there. I don't think we are there yet. And I think we're a little way off before it gets to like there are humans that would struggle with that right now. And so, like putting an AI engine in that is a bit sketchy for me personally.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I know we talked about this and replacing humans, and we're both in agreement that it isn't about replacing humans. It's not about replacing jobs. But what advice, if a recruiter was to ask you over the next couple of years, what things should we kind of be looking at investing in? What would be your words of wisdom and recommendations to them?
Yeah, so I can't tell them what it is. They're gonna have to figure that out themselves. But I could tell you how I would go about doing it, right? And maybe give some suggestions around what you want to do. So I would firstly start off small. And I think I spoke about this in the last talk I was doing in Manchester recently. I would start off with like pilot programs, like really small uses of it in a team. So I might look at all of my departments, and then I might look at, say, sales in my recruitment business. And I might say, okay, well, what is the functions of our sales function? We send contracts, we phone people, we email, whatever it might be. And I'd start with just one of those areas to begin with and say, right, what AI exists right now, or what do we have from our existing vendors, or what could we go and buy that might come in and enhance that part of what we do? I'd run that. I'd get buy-in. I'd heavily communicate people. I'd invest in the training for those people so that they understand how it works, and then judge the feedback of that, and then start to roll it out through the wider sales organization. Into other areas that affect sales. So what I'm not saying is you should start off and go in sales, operations, marketing, like whatever it might be. That's quite a lot. and we've still got day-to-day jobs to do, right? We still got
Yeah.
our day jobs to do right now, and we're not, we haven't got some kind of like computer overlord that runs us just yet. So we've got some time on our hands to get things right. So yeah, I think it would be really important to do that. And then once you start to get more comfortable with how AI is actually improving things and looking at benchmarks and data sets about how things are improving, then communicate the success of that to the wider team, and then start to like roll out what artificial intelligence can mean for your business.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to get very skeptical people who just think, oh, it's just
Yeah.
a fad, right? They come and go. We've seen this so many times. Social media was going to take us over. LinkedIn was going to get rid of recruiters, and like we've seen it so many times. I
Yeah.
think you need to bring that that in. At the same time, I'd probably start to think about who in the business is going to be responsible for AI. And if you're a bigger business, like I think I spoke about like CAIOs, chief AI officers, I think that will become a role. I actually saw a post on
Yeah.
LinkedIn after I said that last time about like the growth of that as a role. I'm not saying I coined that, but like it is becoming more of a conversational piece.
Yeah.
But I think internally we need to say, well, what's our team that's going to be responsible for this look like? And you need a mixture of people who are like analytical, logical, contrarian to a degree, people who are left brain thinkers, and then you need our right brain ultra creative people that don't rely on AI ironically to write all their content for them and do the creative stuff themselves.
Yeah.
And I think you need to blend those kind of teams together and start to look at that. And they also need to be kind of involved probably in like the legal, ethical compliance and guidelines side of things about how you're going to set up as a business as well. So yeah, I'd say whatever it is, start small within one department of your business, start to scale it within that department, and then start to cross contaminate your company with that at that point.
Yeah. So a little bit like with marketing, when you look at it, it's putting together your strategy
Yep.
of how you're going to deliver it, looking at the proof, looking at the ROI, looking at what you can deliver. And we tend to do that when people start with like rolling out marketing with new teams and things. We'll tend to start with one team, start to push that proof in the pudding, and then start to roll it out. If it's a new initiative, that's how you get their buy-in, isn't it? And consultants
100%.
typically are probably like the hardest people to sell to, weirdly, when it comes to things like marketing, because they are very sales focused. So sometimes they struggle to see like the long-term picture and benefits of like brand building and things like that. And they're more focused on that quick win and the sale and trying to get things across the line, which I completely understand. Okay.
100%.
Is there anything else that you think we've missed? I'm conscious of we're 3/4 in. There are some questions in the Q&A too. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, or that you think's a worthwhile takeaway for people? I know I did see one of the questions flash up, which was around, could I just share that list of like the AIs that you talked about, which I will do. But is there anything else, words of wisdom that you would give to people? I think you've hit the nail on the head of that thing of like starting small and scaling it up and proofing the capacity and delivery. Is there anything else that you think you would give people as nuggets of wisdom?
Yeah, probably just one final thing, and it's a bit of like it's not like an apocalypse thing, but it's it's around like this pessimism aversion bias that I think that we generally have as people. So I think with AI, there is this like feeling that people go to a talk or they listen to somebody talk about it, and they talk about how big the change is going to be, and they say, but yeah, but the change hasn't happened today, so it's not a big change. And that usually is the indicator that there's a big change about to happen. Like history tells us that that is when people start poo-pooing things like that, you start to see it become like a bigger thing. And the natural bias as humans is to say, well, no, because you worry that it might affect you, or it might affect your income or your job or your livelihood or whatever it might be, or your industry. And sometimes we just need to accept that it is going to happen and that it might be big. And we need to find out what the best way for us to prepare for that is. And then look at ways that we can navigate safely, carefully, prosperously, and come out the other end of it in a better position potentially from where we are. A lot of people probably listen to me speak or other people speak and they think, oh, yeah, I know it's good, but it's not going to happen, is it? I think it's going to happen. I think it's happening right now. And I think it's there is an immovable force now behind this, which is only going in one direction. It's only getting faster to do it. So I would say that if you're sitting there thinking, oh yeah, but it hasn't hit me, would start to be a bit more worried by that, and I'd start to probably look at like how I can better upskill myself for a career that involves artificial intelligence being part of my day to day, rather than trying to fight against the tide of it and finding reasons why it won't work. It's just that it won't work today. Somebody will come
Yeah.
along and fix it. They'll figure a way around the problem. That's what happens in technology. That's what we do. So yeah, I think just try and have more of an open mind potentially about the impacts and like the
Yeah.
opportunities, the upsides that it might create would probably be just a general point out.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And just on that, one of the things that I actually saw last week, it was in the Times, it was saying about that there are going to be, or there are now available grants for businesses to upskill people around, specifically around AI. So they will start to filter through. There's going to be funding available. So that fits in with what you were talking about building that as part of your ongoing strategy, needs to be part of your team development, how you choose to use this product and system. Then you're training the people efficiently on it to make sure that it is being used correctly, so that you can really sort of maximize it. And if you can get funding to help you do that and help upskill those people, then all the better, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so just reminder people, if you want to add any questions to the chat or the Q&A, just really quickly while you are doing that, I'm just going to quickly flip back to our presentation. I won't put it up on the screen, but just some dates for your diary. So we've got some more webinars coming up, including, hang on, let me just share this, and then dates for your diary, present. Here we go. So the next one is going to be talking about SEO. Then we've got motivating consultants media, data intelligence and how to harness this to motivate, email deliverability, and then changing the mindset for consultants around marketing. I've been on like a mission to like secure loads of really great speakers. So that was my first one, and then I've got loads more lined up too. And then other things, in-person events happening. I know Matt mentioned it, there's the Rec Connect marketing event that is on tomorrow. The funny thing is, at the Comedy Store, it is sold out. But anyone that's going, we look forward to seeing you there. On Friday, I'm at the RDLC Super Lunch with Levi Roots. Really excited to meet him. And then I'm at a marketing event for RDLC on the 24th of May, and then Rexscape on the 11th of June. So loads coming up. Get in touch if you're going to be at any of the events, shout me, and I'd love to like meet people in person, which is always nice, isn't it? Shameless plug from me. Obviously, I know I say it all the time, but we do marketing planning, mentoring, and fractional marketing director services for people. And we offer everybody who comes on our webinars or anybody that works in rec a free one-to-one consultation. And I did say to Matt as well, if there was anything that he wanted to kind of promote from a SourceFlow perspective, now is your time.
Yeah, if you buy a website from us, you get another one at full price. Now yeah, if you're a business that is looking at their website, or they're looking at the kind of marketing tech, and you're considering where they might want to take that, we've got some pretty cool tech that we give to some of the most forward-thinking businesses in not just in this country but in the world. So if you want to have a look at it, you can drop me a message on LinkedIn or on our website. You can get in touch with us there, and we'd love to have a chat with you.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, let's go to the questions. So Mark has put, if AI-enabled tools can source applicants faster, more accurately, and without bias across multiple databases and at a fraction of the cost of a recruiter, what is the future for traditional contingency recruiters, that make up 80% or 85% of the recruitment workforce and that mostly provide a CV transactional service? Do you think that this is the beginning of the end for traditional contingency recruiters as we know it today?
No, I think it's the end of the beginning. I think I think largely that's a good thing. And it like automation has already been making that happen anyway. I don't think AI has been required to do that necessarily. I think automation has been already doing that for a couple of years. I think AI might enhance that and speed it up, and I think that's only a good thing. I personally believe in that market where it's like, I'm going to say like commodity based, but it's like kind of quite a high transaction market. Like that's been ripe for that for years, and that is a good thing. But that's just one side of it, right? But that's the candidate experience side of things. The other is winning business, and that is building relationships with your customers and your clients, and then feeding what they're looking for into the top of your AI model to be able to find the right people for it. Like that is an art in itself. That will become more of an important job. So I think it's a great thing if it's getting rid of CV sifting, great. Like why would we want to necessarily do that at scale? And we can't do that at scale effectively. People are probably missing out on jobs right now because we can't do that, and the right candidate might be missing out on jobs. So I think that's a positive thing. I think the super positive for us is that we are going to be able to provide a much more personalized, high quality experience to our customers and provide that one-to-one relationship management that they've needed and wanted probably for years. We've been too busy sifting CV. So I think it will, it will probably open up time to be more personalized with our customer.
Yeah, no, that's good. And just go back to what you were talking about earlier as well, about kind of bringing together the data that you own too, and kind of allowing you to make more intelligent decisions around that, or find those clients or understand those clients better, to then be able to build that relationship. That's every marketer's dream, isn't it? If we could kind of pull together all of this lovely information about our clients, so we knew that the content we were sending out was completely relevant, timely to what and how they're feeling at that moment, that literally would be us living the dream. Because then obviously email deliverability rates would go up through the roof. You'd be getting lots of clients kind of like digesting more of your content. And so, yeah, that's from a marketing perspective would be where I see that would kind of add the most value as well. Okay, so Tom has written, I've built a marketing assistant persona on Claude Pro. It writes blog posts for me, formats CVs, writes candidate summaries, and supports with emails, etc. It's great and has made my life easier, but I'm sure it could do more. But I'm not sure what. From your experience, what admin heavy or time consuming tasks could AI take off my desk as a 360 recruiter and billing manager?
CV screening. I don't know if it does much of that. And looking through for more than just a keyword match. I guess it could do that. It could process CVs at scale based around prompts. So I'm looking for XYZ, whatever that prompt might be. Please review these documents and give me a synopsis of each of these candidates' strengths and weaknesses against that. That would probably be something that you might want to do to speed up your sifting. I don't know what your volume is, like how much you actually get, but I'd say that's probably a big one for you to immediately do it. I know there are some products that are coming through that are doing like the interview scheduling through AI. I'm not sure if that product will do it, but there are some AI products that are coming to do that, where it will do the communication between client candidate to book interview time slots with them, which that dance, I worked in recruitment years ago, that dance is one of the worst to do, because it's just like, I'm just trying to get two people in a room together. That's all it needs to do. And I think there's some good kind of like scheduling assistance for that type of stuff, to kind of go through that. One thing I'd say is, it's really good that you're doing that, firstly, and I do think you're ahead of the curve with doing that much stuff. But if you're doing that, what's to stop other people doing that on the same data sets, right? And then are other people writing the same type of content and those kind of things? So I think it's amazing that you're doing it, but like, make sure that you're giving time for your creativity and like the artistry that you can provide as well, and like your flair can come through and like supplement some of the stuff that you're doing as well. Where there is room for creativity is just one of the things I'd say on that. But it's probably all taking away some of the more laborious types, like writing job descriptions, kind of giving you the basis for your job descriptions, those types of things. That could be a cool thing to look at. Maybe get some data from I don't know if you manage a team, but maybe get some like placement data from your team, time to close data, that type of stuff. Get that, put it in one of these engines, get it to summarize it, and see if there's areas you could look to optimize, areas you could look to improve on how you currently work to kind of optimize you as a person. That could be something you do as well.
Yeah, no, really good response. And the only other thing that I was just going to add to it was maybe to look at like the automation as well. So I know, like, obviously AI can do lots, but there is also automation tools that could probably help with some of the stuff or the admin heavy tasks that you're doing on the desk. There was somebody sent me, because everybody knows that I'm a bit geeky about this, but they sent me one yesterday, and were like, oh, have you heard of this? Let me find it. It was called Magical. Have you heard of this? It's a new AI automation tool, and apparently you can basically hook up like any programs and you can put stuff into it and make it. And I think it's almost like a automation chat kind of combination type thing. So I've booked myself some time to sit and play with that. Because again, it is just looking at like not just what AI can do, but how you can use the automation to kind of harness it as well, especially from like a marketing perspective. Okay, let me just check the chat. Sorry. So in the chat, Ryan had put, could we share the list of AI tools? Yep, that's fine. I think Mark, I think that was the same question that you'd put in the Q&A, Mark. So that's good. And I think that is all of the questions that we have there. So look at that, we're back like bang on time as well. That was good work. So I guess that just kind of brings me to say thank you so much, Matt, for coming on and letting us pick your brains about AI. I've really enjoyed it, really geeking out about it. I will send the recording round to everybody that's been here. And I also will send it around. So what we tend to find is that quite a few people register, they can't make it, and the rule is that they then get the recording, so we'll send that round to them as well. If there's anything you want to include in that, then send it over to me. We'll include that list of AIs that Matt was talking about in there too. And then anything else, obviously you can contact myself and or find Matt on LinkedIn and connect with him and can ask him some questions. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Matt, bright and early.
Tomorrow. Oh yeah,
marketing fun.
I've got the 5 a.m. train, so looking forward to it. Yeah.
5 a.m. I'm glad I haven't got to get up quite that early, but yes. All right, thank you so much. And everybody else, our next webinar will be in 2 weeks. It's going to be on SEO, and I think we're probably going to have more than one guest. So just to give you a bit of a heads up on that. And we look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.